Stop share, see it again, and then share. Let us continue. To compression plates, upper and lower are conducting the compression test. So, by conduction to compression test means first we should identify and locate the plates for housing the compression box for compression. The lower compression plate is fixed on the lower plate. In the location, there is a central hole for loading this lower. Uh, there is a central hole for loading this particular plate for proper location of the particular plate, and upper plate is to be clamped to the bottom of the lower cross head. There is a clamping system for the rod in the upper side, and on the bottom side is also it can also be clamped the upper head of the uh, upper head of the compression plate itself. This plate, like the jaws in the lower crosshead, to their take the jaws. Take the jaws in the lower crosshead to their bottommost. So head of removal, keep the top plate, and on the top of the lower crosshead, such that a position that its projected portion is fit correctly in the chuck, both in the correct position itself. Hmm. The clamp stud will come out from the hole of the lower plate. Now screw the upper compression plate to the clamp stud and tighten it against the lower plate by the nut and from the above itself. So one plate is fixed at the bottom plate and another plate is fixed at the intermediate plate itself. Space between the lower cross plate, the space between the lower cross plate and lower table and lower cross heads is used from the compression test, bend and shear test itself. That is that there is a space between upper crosshead and the intermediate plate. That space is being used for tensile test, and because there is only one movement is possible, that is the upper movement of the lower and upper intermediate upper crossheads, which moves up only with pressure, and there is no lowermost movement of this upper and lower crosshead, because it will come down only if the uh, compressor oil, this oil is released from the bag itself. And so whatever you do, you have to fix it from the intermediate plate to the top for the tensile, and you have to fix the compression and bending and shear, because here in that case you have to create a compressive force. So you have to locate them between the lower plate and the intermediate plate. So that spot space between the lower plate and intermediate plate is supposed to be reduced to ensure the compressive force, or to ensure the shear force, or to ensure the bending load itself. So the space between the lower table and our lower crosshead is used for bending from compression, bend, and shear test itself. And the space itself between the lower and upper crosshead is used for torsion test itself. In any test, the up and down motion of the lower and upper crossheads assemble performs the loading action. Just have told you that it is also confirming the same, because loading action is can be performed only by the lower combination of lower and upper crosshead, not by the intermediate places as itself. Intermediate plate, the intermediate crosshead is only meant for gripping the work and nothing else. The upper and lower crosshead will give you the loading of the compressive shear and bending in between intermediate and lower, and on tension on upper and intermediate itself. The mechanical up and down motion of the lower crosshead is provided for rapid initial space rapid initial space adjustment depending on the length of the height of the tension and compression test specifically. The mechanical lower upper end of the intermediate phase, not the lower crosshead, actually is given to provide a rapid initial space adjustment of the lower length of the flight, and for both the tension and compressive test is to fail. The bending table, bending lowers, and bending pans are provided as an attachment to carrying out the bending tail itself. An elongation test is kept sliding on the scale rod 1535, which is fixed between the lower head and the upper crosshead itself. Elongation indicating pointer fixed to the lower crosshead and the scale on the side of the rod when the loading on the specimen itself. Limit switch into 4 provided below the lower level for initiating the compression maximum stroke of the piston itself. So, what is that? A scale is provided so it's kept provided on the scale rod and which is fixed with the lower blade and the upper blade crosshead itself. Actually, in our electron textile device, this doesn't operate, but this movement is available from our control panel itself, control panel or potential rod itself. So the control, what we should have, the control panel is, first of all, the main units of the control panel are like this. The oil tank 33P3, which contains the hydraulic level slide glass for checking the oil level, is fitted to the oil tank itself. The fitted to the oil tank cover 35 filters the incoming oil to the tank itself. The oil tank, which contains hydraulic oil level slide glass itself, which can show you the how much oil is there in the machine or there is any leakage or anything like this. For checking the oil level is fitted to the oil tank. So if there is a maximum minimum limit of the oil limit, if it is going down than that, you have to add it at the oil, and you should not load the oil more than the upper limit itself. Fitted to the oil tank cover, filter does the incoming oil to the tank itself. Red cock is provided to take out of the oil while cleaning the tank itself. So sometimes or another, you have to clear the material itself. You have to clear the oil from the tank itself and replace it with a new oil, or for which there is a drain cock is there to remove it from the bottom itself. Now, the pump is a positive displacement type pump. Once this rotary pump moves in a positive direction, it does not have any reciprocating system itself. This assures continuous high non-pulsating oil current for the smooth upper application of the load on the specimen. So it is this pump ensures smooth without any jerk feeding of the oil inside the piston cylinder, and that should be transferred to the machine top and bottom cross heads to ensure uniform tensile load, uniform compressive load, or bending load itself. So that all is required to a positive displacement pump, and total non-pulsating oil current is should be required for the smooth application of the load. There should not be any oscillating or non-pulsating oil itself. The pump is filled to the tank cover from the bottom, which makes it easy to accessible. The electric motor is fitted in the tank on the plate hanged at the bottom. Belt tightness or loosening can be achieved very easily as it's shown in the figure, and the motor can be locked at the desired position by the chuck nuts. When another electric motor is given, what is shown here, while other than the pump, one electric motor is given to plate the hinge at the bottom. For tightening and loosening can be achieved very easily as shown. Two valves in the control panel. I have shown you that one on the right side, another left side. They are used to control oil flow in the hydraulic system. The right side valve is the pressure compensated flow valve, and the overall load valve is just adjusted at its hook itself. If the left side valve 4 into 4 P2 and P3 is a return valve, the valve allows the oil from the cylinder to go back to the tank, or back to the tank itself, thereby reducing the pressure in the cylinder, and then the working piston starts coming down. The rate of oil delivered at the pump is rate of the oil delivered to the pump passes through a flow control valve, and if in open position to the cylinder and the piston goes up, so rate of oil delivered by the pump we can control by a flow control valve, and it opens. It is if it is open position to the cylinder, and the piston will go up. It comes around any distance at resistance of any test piece, pressure starts developing until the specimen breaks the load itself. The things are very clear. Just we are pumping the oil inside and sending it to through the cylinder itself by means of its own pressure. By opening the control valve itself, it starts moving up, and along with its top member and top crosshead and bottom crosshead is moving and creating compressive load or tensile or bending load itself. Pressure compensator of the flow valve is a unique design which keeps a reed not adjusting the control valve again and again. If it is not adjusted for a particular sharing high pressure of contact connection is given from the valve itself 3 to P4, P2 and P3 to the cylinder it centers. The high pressure oil supplied at the friction, therefore increasing the accuracy. Also it helps the getting the pressure compensator effect itself. Now, the pressure oil connection is given from the valve 39 and to the cylinder at its center is high pressure oil supplied at the friction, thereby increasing the accuracy itself. It also helps in getting the pressure compensation effect. So, pressure and oil connection is given from the injection valve itself to the cylinder at its center itself. This high compressor oil supplied at the friction, thereby increasing the accuracy. It requires help in decline the pressure compensation itself. The confined tool valve. Confined control valve is specially provided and set by the manufacturer so that to control the rate of loading very precisely by means of the right control valve itself. Just 1 second for the attendance. Now, oh. Now let us go for the dynamometer. It is a unit which measures and indicates the load on the specimen. We are applying tensile load, heavy compressive load on the specimen itself. The overall accuracy of the machine depends only on the accuracy of this unit itself. It is a pendulum dynamometer, consists of cylinder in which the piston is reciprocating itself. The piston top is connected to the main hydraulic cylinder so that the pressure under the work position is transmitted to the small measuring piston in the dynamometer itself. The displacement of the measuring piston comes to the pendulum to defect as far as the equilibrium point itself. This deflection represents the measurement of the load of the specimen. That deflection is shown at a digital display device. So what we are getting here, a dynamometer. Dynamometer is the unit itself which measures actually the load on the specimen. How they are doing it? The accuracy of the machine depends on how accurately this unit works. This is a pendulum dynamometer consists of a cylinder in which the piston reciprocates. The cylinder top is allocated to the hydraulic cylinder. It's also reciprocated, but that reciprocation oil pressure under the work piston is transmitted to the small measuring piston of the dynamometer. The displacement of the measuring piston causes the piston to deflect as far as the equilibrium point. So Here is also you are having a piece cylinder, maybe on small side. Its load transmitting is from the main hydraulic cylinder itself, and by the cylinder hydraulic cylinder oil pressure increases, it transmitted this portion of this pressure to this particular uh, hydraulic piston itself, hydraulic cylinder itself. Now, the cylinder tops connected to the so that the oil pressure when your displacement of the measuring piston causes the pendulum to deflect as far as the equilibrium point itself. This deflection represents the measurement of the load in the piston itself. The deflection shows a height, a digital display device. This pendulum weight this pendulum weight the pendulum weight is subdivided into several detachable weights, and under thus various measuring ranges from full load up to 1/10 of the full load, from full load up to 1/10 of full load can be obtained itself. The pendulum swing can be adjusted by the weight subdivided to several detachable weights. The dynamometer piston is kept rotating itself at a slow speed. The drive is taken from the same motor. The dynamometer piston driving the pump with one wheel reduction in between the piston assures dynamic friction condition, and it increases the measuring accuracy. Dynamometer is also equipped with an integral check valve. When the specimen breaks, the valve avoids the return oil flow from the measurement cylinder to the oil pass that has to be bypassed through the damper control valve itself. Getting the damping effect means damping it is getting the weight itself so that it should not go and strike total both this top and bottom member go down slowly but surely, and but should not go down and strike to the somewhere else, because both of them are pretty heavy and big improvements. If it strikes somewhere, it will be it may break itself. In addition to the accurate load indication on the scale, a recording instrumentation automatically registers the load elongation diagram itself. So we have a recording requirement. A pen holder is not there. The movement of the lower table is taken through the chain and sprockets without slip, and the friction as the specimen under test is elongated. Thus, an automatic graph of load against elongation is plotted. A big size load indicating dial fitted with a glass cover is mounted at the side of the control panel itself. The range indicating the dial located at the back side of the tote, indicating the line to be adjusted at the particular long selected. This range of adjustment knob is provided for the adjustment. Zero adjustment knob provided the right side pulse for the initial zero adjustment. Now go through, let us see how we are doing the testing. Before the testing, adjust the pendulum weight according to the capacity of the test piece. Generally, we don't do such thing. We keep the test piece as it is. Adjust corresponding ledge on the dial with range adjusting knob itself. The counterweight of the pendulum is adjusted correctly. Be sure not to move it. The strain curve is to be identified, to be recorded. The pen filled with the recorder ink and should insert in the pen holder. Here we are using a recording is done on the computer, so this setup is not being used here. Then recording paper, etc. care must be taken so that pen drive does not touch the edge. And graph will be get from the material. I will discuss it afterwards. In the compression test, select the proper jaw inserts, complete the upper and lower chuck assembly. Apply some graphite grease to tapered surface on the grip for the smooth motion. Then operate the upper crosshead operation handle and grip fully the upper end of the test pieces itself. So Upper head, upper end of the test piece, the intermediate member or intermediate hand gripper should come down and just hold on the top of the top is set. Then left valve is fully closed and the right valve is normal portion, normal, normally open. Open the right side valve and close it after the lower valve is slightly lifted. Now, adjust the lower point to the 0 and 0 adjusting knob. This is necessary to remove the dead weight of the lower level. Adjust the lower pointer to 0 and 0 adjustment knob because necessary to remove the lower dead weight of the lower table. Operate the lower grip operation handle and lift the lower head, lower crosshead up and grip fully the lower part of the specimen. Then took the jaws in this position by operating the jaw braking handle. Then turn the right control valve slowly to open position, that is anti-clockwise, until you get desired loading rate. After this, you will find the specimen under load and then reclamp the locking handle. Now jaw will not slide down due to their own weight. They go on increasing the load. When the test piece is broken, close the right control valve and then take out the broken pieces of the tech pieces. This then open the left control valve to take the position down again. The maximum load to the compression pointer shows you the maximum capacity of the specimen itself. What we are doing, more or less, we are doing the same thing in the compression test. Fixed upper and lower pressure plates on the lower control corset and then and the lower head table respectively. Place the specimen on the lower compression plate. The specimen must align exactly across the ranking on the compression plate. Specimen must align exactly across the ranking of the compression plate in order to give the compressor complete cross-section of the specimen a chance to participate equally in the accepted load. Then adjust 0 by lifting the lower level and perform the test in the same way the introduction test itself. Next, bending test. Keep the bending table on the lower head in such a way the center boss of the bending table fits the lower central column of the head. Then tape capping are provided on the lower level for this purpose. Adjust the bending supports for the required distance and clamp the bending table with the screw provided at the side. For adjusting the distance, they use the scale marked on bending table itself. Stoppers are provided which are to be placed at the back of the bending supports. Holes are provided on the bending table or relocating the stoppers. The stoppers can be set in 5 different positions. Stoppers can be provided with the placed at the back of the bending support. The holes are provided at the bending table and the toppers can be set in 5 different positions, adjusting the center distance between the support at the interval 100 mm. Fix the required bending pin at the lower side of the cross fitted head and adjust the load by lifting the lower table and perform the test on the same way. Now let us go through the experiment number 1. What is this? The tensile test. The objective is to compare the tensile strength of the metallic metal. To compare, what is the objective? Tensile strength. Compare the yield point of this metal. Compare the ductility, which is elongation per unit length, and percentage of reduction per unit area. To compare the staking performance, compare the modular velocity and draw, analyze, and compare the stress and curve. Theory. The tensile stress of mild steel is of prime importance in bridges. Tensile tests many of the civil engineering structures like bridges, railways, industrial building, etc. Mild steel is subject to direct tension due to bending. some of the components based on the aforesaid structure. Determination of the shapes and size of these components requires the knowledge of capacity deformation consistent with specification for safety and serviceability. So what we are saying, we are doing mild steel test of the mild steel, where it has lot of effect, lot of application, bridge, railways, industrial building, water tank, etc. Now, it is subject to direct tension due to bending in some of the components result in abortion structure. It is subject to tension, direct tension because it has a tendency to bending. Deformation of the shape and size of these components misuse requires the knowledge of capacity of the deformed consistent, which specification for safety and serviceability. These are obtained from the stress strain curve of the material itself. The ultimate tensile stress of a material is the strength it is capable of exerting against being fractured, that is being broken in surface. A material static strength is signified in two ways: residential resistance to permanent deform. This is a static strength. This kind of strength tends to prevent bending, twisting, or denting of material permanently in surface. On the other hand, the yield point stress must be reached or exceeded during the manufacturing of metal products. Just a minute. Hello? Huh? না আমি একটু ব্যস্ত আছি ম্যাডাম, একটা ক্লাস নিচ্ছি, পরে হবে। Sorry. Now, on the other hand, yield point stress must be reached or exceeded during the manufacture of metal. This kind of strength, resistance to permanent deformation. What is the strength? The metal static strength signified two ways: resistance to permanent deformation itself. This kind of strength tends to prevent bending, twisting, or denting of a metal permanently. And in surface, testing, bending, twisting, denting. On the other hand, the yield point stress must be reached or exceeded during the manufacturing of metal products. Thus, this yield point has a stress level which should not be exceeded and must be exceeded in manufacturing by forming. Which should not be exceeded in service and it must be exceeded in manufacturing forming. So what we have? The resistance to permanent deformation. So this kind of strength prevents us to bending, twisting, denting, etc. while in permanent in service. But on the other hand, yield point stress must be reached or exceeded during the manufacturing of metal products. Otherwise, it will go back to the original shape. It is not desired. So they made by forming on by work by methods such as drilling and rolling and drawing. Thus, yield point is a stress level which should not be exceeded in service and must be exceeded in manufacturing or forming. The ultimate strength of the material is the strength it capable of exerting against bending, being fractured, that is broken on surface. Capable of exerting, being fractured. When stress equal to the ultimate tensile stress is when the stress equal to the ultimate tensile stress strength is therefore a limiting stress level which must not be exceeded other than either in manufacturing or in service. When a stress equal to the ultimate tensile strength is therefore a timing limiting stress level which must not be exceeded either in manufacturing or in service itself. Both yield point and Ultimate tensile strength are among the most important characteristics of a material measured by the tensile test itself. Ductility. It is the property with which a material must possess to some extent at least in order to be formed into different shape by rolling, stretching, bending, drawing, hammering, etc. Or in very simply, it is the ability or the property with which a material can be drawn into a wire or in other non-cutting or non-melting methods. Ductility is therefore a very useful, often necessity property. Thank you. The tensile test provided the two methods of measuring the specified degree of ductility which a metal possesses. One of these measures of ductility in terms of the percentage elongation of the specimen, and the others in terms of percentage reduction in its area of cross section. The percentage elongation is a measure of the measurement of the lengthwise stretching of the tensile specimen up to the time of fracture, and it expresses the increase in length of a measured portion of the specimen as a percentage of the original gauge length. So what is there saying? Tensile is put in two methods: measuring the specified degree of ductility, which is the material processes, specified degree, measuring how much ductility is there, although a specified known degree of ductility is available or not. One of these measures ductility in terms of percentage elongation. How will you measure how much percentage of elongation is possible in the specimen, and other in terms of percentage reduction in the area of the cross section. So two types of result you derive: how much is elongated per unit cross section area, and how much is reduced in cross section area before the breakage itself. So percentage elongation measure of lengthwise stretching at the time of fracture. It represents the increase in length of a measured portion of the specimen as a percentage of the original length. And reduction in cross-section area is also a measurement of the cross-section as the tensile specimen stretched. It expresses the decrease in cross-section area by as a percentage of original cross-section area. So at the time of testing and the finish of testing, we have to measure the elongation, if by means of scale if possible, or if not possible, you can have it in your digital device, how much the rod is elongated, and you have to use a micrometer to measure the next step breaking point of the rod, where you can get the percentage of reduction in cross-section area itself. Elasticity. It is a property by virtue of which the a material returns to the original dimension after the original removal of stress. It is a useful characteristic of the design. Material, by virtue of elasticity, material returns back to the original dimension after the stress is removed. But it is a useful characteristic in the design of springs or any other object showing elastic deformation and must be controlled. A material's elasticity is commonly expressed by means of the modulus of elasticity. So this is the ratio of strength to strength within the exclusively elastic deformation range of the material's performance. It is determined from the data obtained in tensile stress. The greater the modulus of elasticity of the material, stiffer or more rigid the material. That is, more stress is required to deform the effect to a deformed by a fixed amount. So all this elasticity is defined. How elastic the material is, how quickly it can go back to its original deformation, original form after deformation, and it is determined from the data obtained in tensile stress. The greater the modulus of elasticity of the material, stiffer or more rigid the material itself. That is, more stress is required to deform it. The stress strain curve. As a part of the tensile stress report, it is often necessary to draw a stress strain diagram shows the performance of the tested material by graphically expressing the stress existing in the specimen as a function of the strain developed in the pulling action of the testing specimen. A stress strain diagram shows the performance of the tested material by graphically expressing the stress existing in the specimen as a function of the strain develop the pulling action of the testing machine from the start of pulling to the occurrence of fracture. The shape of the stress strain diagram is indicated the general characteristic of the tested material as well as is as well as its specific engineering properties. To draw the complete structure diagram, suitably sized stress and strain scale should be attached, but we can do it from our uh, computer computer display device. Next, the apparatus is supposed to be used here. The universal testing machine, micrometer 0 to 25, vernier caliper 0 to 5, extensiometer, and dividers itself. And load extensiometer reading stress and strain is all to be plotted for at least three different materials itself. Now, what is the process? Make the gauge length as per specification and record it accurately. Make the gauge length means the length between the two dumbbell area, because dumbbell area is not made for tensile test but to grip the specimen properly. The gauge should be symmetrical with the length of the bar itself. Grip the specimen vertically and firmly in the jaw of the universal testing specimen and adjust the machine to lead zero. First, you have to make certain movement of the machine for a few millimeter, and then you release it. It will go to the zero, and then set the 0 point on your machine itself. Selecting the required chart, range by friction, the capacity changing wheel with the ram at the bottom of the stroke. Required charges by fraction of the capacity change wheel with the ram at the bottom of the stroke itself. Raise the ram a few millimeter by quick setting control and set 0. Note that the 0 will change as the ram rises due to the weight of the column of oil in the cylinder. Note that the grips does not protrude through the grip holders and insert the specimen and lesser than 2 heart of the way up into their pair of grips. 0 will change as the ram rises due to the weight of the column of the oil in the cylinder. Note that grips does not protrude through the grip holders and insert the specimen not lesser than 2/3 of the way into each pair of grips itself. Attach the extensiometer firmly to the specimen and adjust it to read 0. Increase the load gradually to 250 kg. We don't generally have any method of increasing the load by recording the load, but it's around half of the measured specified load of the machine itself. Read the extensiometer and record the reading of the test data sheet. Continue loading at increments of 250 kg each time and record the extensiometer. We make a continuous process of loading it, and the reading or extensiometer is obtained from our result device itself. At this point, remove the extensiometer and next record the maximum load attained at the breaking point itself. Remove the broken parts from the machine and note and record the type of fracture itself. Fit the pieces together, measure the final thread and minor length of the gauge mark and record it as LF on the data sheet. Measure the final diameter of the neck by means of the micrometer itself. Calculate yield point, ultimate tensile stress, and the percent elongation and reduction in area modulus of elasticity itself. Draw the stress strain diagram for mild steel and indicate yield point, elastic and plastic deformation, ultimate strength, and breaking point. Use ordinary millimeter graph paper itself. Repeat procedure step 2 to 12 for gray cast iron, brass, or copper aluminum specimen. So, what is the observation? Sketch the original specimen, sketch the shape of the specimen after yield, sketch the specimen of the failure, plot section curve, determine the yield length and breaking the ultimate strength, and determine the modulus of elasticity of the material. Determine the percent elongation of the material itself. What is the results? Limit of proportionate you have to put down, elastic limit, yield strength, ultimate strength, your result itself. Modulus of elasticity, percent of elongation itself. What is the precaution itself. We have to ensure apply the load at the uniform rate and without any jerk itself. Remove the extension meter. Do not use the extension meter while testing cast iron itself. Next experiment is compression test. Objective: the perform compression test determine the mechanical properties. Theory: several materials used in engineering practice which are permanently meant to carry to compressive load, say concrete, say brick, and say wood. They are used in compression but not in tension. Therefore, technical properties of the materials are often evaluated in the compression test itself. Generally,